I wanted to say, you brought up a really good question last episode about the election being rigged. I don't think that the votes were stolen. I think it was rigged in the sense that Hunter Biden's laptop, that story was squashed. In that sense, I do think it was rigged because American people deserve to know. But frankly, I would be the first to admit wrong. I'm sorry that I bought into the narrative. I believe the mainstream narrative that it was a Russian disinformation campaign.
I bought that fully.
I did too. You thought the laptop was fake.
I was all the way down the Russia.
You thought it wasn't his laptop?
I thought the Steele dossier was real. Go back to the beginning.
Okay. No, that I believe. Everyone.
I thought the Steele dossier was real. I thought Trump was getting peed on by a 15-year-old prostitute. I was all the way down the rabbit hole.
I believed all of that.
I believed it.
But none other than the Justice Department of the United States of America used Hunter Biden's laptop in the court of law as evidence against him. None other than the Washington Post, not known for being a leftist bastion, admitted to the veracity of this laptop. And the American people did not know that, and we were duped. I bought into it. We all bought, well, you probably, I bought into it.
Do you think that if the Hunter Biden laptop story was reported unencumbered, like no guardrails, nothing, do you think that that would have changed the outcome of the election?
The election was so close in Pennsylvania, in states that really mattered.
It was close in swing states, but honestly, I think that COVID had way more of an influence on the outcome of that election than anything else. People were so desperate for normal.
Yeah,
and they saw Biden as, let's just go back to normal.
Reasonable. He'd bring us all back together. He wasn't woke and crazy. But what's interesting about Biden, if we really look back as honestly a lifelong liberal, this guy is systemic racism. He is the 94 crime bill. He was...
Did you hear what he said the other day?
Aggressively against gay marriage.
He's still talking about colored people. This happened like last week.
Well, he's senile now. So
did
he say
colored people like 6 days ago? I kid you not.
He's also mentally gone, though. I think maybe we give him a pass for that because he is shocked.
Like, all right, Grandpa.
He's trying to launch a comeback, by the way.
I mean, that's something I think you were going to say earlier, but then said let's revisit that when we were talking about the Parkinson's thing. So can you confirm that? Can you confirm
my gosh, ladies,
how many times they went to the White House?
Okay.
Then you mean the doctor visits at least 6 times, in the summer of 2024. But I was going to mention something else.
Okay.
I was going to mention people with medical expertise, these accredited doctors from like Harvard Medical School. My dad went to Harvard Medical School. I brought them to events with Biden. They were diagnosing him from, we were seated in the front row, not just on one occasion, on several occasions, I would bring different doctors, and not even to diagnose Biden, just because they had a shit ton of money. Like, I wanted their money for the event. They would say, this guy is a walking case of Parkinson's.
But also, I have no medical degree, and I could have told you that, because he was shaking hands with the air. So I didn't need a medical degree. I mean, we all saw it. We all knew what was going on.
But I also just didn't feel qualified to make a diagnosis.
No, of course.
So people who, with these medical degrees, from detached events, completely separate events, were coming to the same conclusion. And then you had Karine Jean-Pierre gaslighting the country, saying, oh, but these Parkinson's doctors, they were just coming over for friendly visits. Nothing to see here.
Honestly, because so much of my career has been talking to PhDs and MDs in the health space, it was always on the DL, but all of them were saying, I think Lewy body dementia, I think this form of Parkinson's, but this has been going on since he was running in 2019.
Yeah,
they were like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
This is alarming. And
I remember bringing up these concerns in 2020 during the Democratic primary, and we were totally gaslit, but even worse than that, we were made to be really bad, evil people for asking these questions, but we're asking the right questions. We're talking about the President of the United States. It is a physically taxing job, and it was bad in 2020. Of course it got worse by the time we hit 2024. And I think the biggest issue I have is the gaslighting, is this effort to make you seem like you're crazy or you're a bad person for bringing this up. I mean, Jake Tapper shutting down.
That's
what I was going to bring up.
Go ahead,
No, I mean, I was very involved back in 2020. I remember Laura Trump, the Jake Tapper show.
My gosh,
She made a comment about Joe Biden, obviously decline. I mean, there was obviously a decline. He looked at her and shamed her and spoke to her in the most derogatory way I'd ever seen him speak to anyone. She was upset. I was furious for her. Now the man is being applauded and publishing a book
about reporting on the exact same thing that he attacked 4 or 5 years ago.
He's publishing a book about the
Yeah.
Biden cognitive decline cover-up.
I was just at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
gosh.
I was just at the White House Correspondents' Dinner where they all applauded themselves.
And they got an award. They gave Alex Thompson, his co-author, an
themselves
Wait, hold on,
awards
hold on.
for reporting on Joe Biden's cognitive decline.
I gotta stick up for one person, and that
Who?
actually is Alex Thompson, because Alex Thompson, to his credit,
Okay.
for
Oh, there it is.
for Politico
Hold it. I want to watch that,
was-
Nat. Go finish their
for
point.
Politico was consistently publishing pieces about Biden's mental decline, and it was being buried. It was being buried, but he
Jake
continued
Tapper's a
doing the
different
reporting.
story.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Jake Tapper
No, but
was
this-
one of the
let's
loudest
watch it.
voices.
This was actually
watch it.
cruel.
Pump that volume, kid.
About things that you've done on the campaign
even
trail.
watch it. It's so
Joe
painful.
Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. And one of the speakers at the Democratic convention was a young boy who the vice president inspired, named Braden Harrington. Take a listen.
It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president.
Braden Harrington, a very brave young boy. You made this comment earlier in the campaign about Joe Biden. Let's take a
framing.
listen
He's
to
trying
that.
to pivot it like she's going after the kid.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to
no.
watch somebody on stage search for
That's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and
that
try
can't
and
believe
figure
he's,
out
like,
an
getting
answer.
that pats on the back
Cognitive
for
decline.
publishing that book.
What I was suggesting was
I
a
think that you were
stuttering.
mocking
so
his stutter.
disgusting.
It is
Yeah, I think you were mocking
But this
his
is
stutter, and I
actually
think
what
you have
CNN does. I've experienced this in my own line of work when initially Ozempic hit the mainstream. I had been asked twice to go on CNN, but only as an ambush. So they could call me anti-science, because the suggestion is, listen, this is a lifestyle disease. You know, this is costly. It has side effects. All the reasons you might want to pursue every other way forward first. And it's like, you're anti-science, you're a heretic, you're a lunatic, you're fanatical, you're evangelical with your message of health and wellness. And by the way, it's like they can't choose the narratives of, are you healthy at any size, or do we all need Ozempic because obesity is a disease? But that's the shutdown, is let's humiliate you as being anti-science and an ignorant idiot, and it's how they prove their point.
But then they write books 2 years later and get rewards for it. And they take it over.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much for watching Her Take. If you like the show, can you help us out by subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification button, sharing, commenting, joining the conversation? It helps us out a ton with the algorithm. We appreciate you.